So is the new legend Octane any good? That's the question I'll be answering in this video. But more importantly, is he worth unlocking? Now if you weren't aware, you don't actually unlock Octane from the Season 1 Battle Pass. A lot of people assumed you would, but that isn't the case. You get a character skin for a mid-tier in the Battle Pass, but it won't actually award you with the character. In order to obtain Octane, you need to spend either 12,000 Legend tokens or 750 Apex coins. And you can only buy 1,000 Apex coins at a time at $9.99. So essentially, he's a $10 character. Now you earn Legend tokens just by playing the game. And if you've been playing for a while, you probably have well over 12,000 already. So now let's get straight into the review aspect of this high-speed daredevil Octane. First of all, his appearance. He's got 2 prosthetic legs and a creepy mask. Now unfortunately, these prosthetic legs are incredibly loud. When you walk with him, you don't hear it. But when you run, you get a mechanical noise. And this can be heard by your teammates and enemies alike, which can be a major drawback. It reminds me of the swooshing noise when you walk with a jogging suit on, just like the gangsters do in the Mafia movies. Now his voice, as with most other characters in Apex Legends, does not fit his appearance. He has a Mexican accent, but he's truly hilarious, much like Mirage. And he's apparently best friends with Ricky Bobby, as he loves to go fast in everything he does, as you'll soon see. Now as for his legendary skins, they're all pretty incredible. El Diablo is my favorite one, which is quite creepy, but the Speed Demon one is equally frightening, whereas the Victory Lap and the Gold Rush remind me of the Roadrunner from Looney Tunes. So I like to refer to Octane as Speedy Gonzales, mainly due to his accent, but also because of some of the hilarious moves that he does. So now let's talk about Octane's 3 character traits. First up, his passive ability. This is called Swift Mend, and the in-game description says, while not taking damage, Octane restores health over time. Now upon testing this, you'll regenerate 1 health point every 2 seconds. As you can see here in slow motion, at 1 second, a sliver of health is apparent on the health bar, and at exactly 2 seconds, that health gets restored. Keep in mind though, as the description states, it only works while you're not taking damage. This means it won't regenerate while you're in the storm. Unfortunately, this also means it won't heal you when you use Octane's tactical ability either, but I'll cover that in just a second. Now many people may consider this a pretty weak passive ability, especially considering the fact that if you're at, say, 10 health, it would take a whopping 3 minutes to fully heal up. Compare that to using Lifeline's Heal Bot or a normal syringe, and it's painstakingly slow. However, with that said, this obviously makes no noise whatsoever. And both those alternatives to healing obviously do cause a bit of a ruckus, and can alert your enemies of your presence. With Octane, you just have to be not taking damage to benefit, and I for one thoroughly enjoy this passive ability. Next up is Octane's tactical ability called Stim. The in-game description says you move 30% faster for 6 seconds. Costs health to use, reduction to slows while active. Now this is a lot to take in via text. So let's take a peek at what it looks like and what effects it grants. So here's me using it while not moving at all. As you can see, you take out a Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze container and jab it straight into your chest. Then your screen gets psychedelic as your character gets Crackhead Pro speed. You can notice a green Super Saiyan aura on the left and right sides of your screen. Once you remove the syringe, your character gives a rock and roll sign and you come down from your high. Now this ability has a 2-second cooldown timer, and you can then once again become higher than a kite and be the Flash. Now as soon as you use this ability, it'll take 10% health damage from you, but this is a bit misleading. Upon testing this, it seems to always do 10 HP regardless of your health. So if you have 15 health left, for example, it'll still only do 10 damage. And this only affects your actual health and not your armor. Now I've seen a lot of people state that your passive ability will regenerate your health while you use this stim, but this is not true. As you can see here in a zoomed in view of my health bar, as soon as that 10 health gets taken away from using the stim, the health regeneration does not occur. It only starts regenerating once the syringe is removed and the stim effect is gone. So if you ever hear someone say otherwise, point them to this very video for proof. Now one thing I don't hear a lot of people talking about in regards to this stim ability is the horrifically loud noise that it makes. Despite it only lasting for 6 seconds, the noise it emits is enough to wake the dead. So listen closely here to what it sounds like.
Faster, faster, faster!
I have no idea how to even describe this. It sounds like a rapid heartbeat followed by some kind of boomerang being thrown, and that being followed by an obese lady with a mustache chugging down a beer. And then there's what can only be described as a slot machine dispensing coins at a casino to end it. And all of this is easily audible to anyone nearby, including your teammates and enemies. Regardless, the stim effect will boost your speed by 30% for 6 seconds at the cost of 10 health. And is it worth it? You'd better believe it. You can use this in a variety of ways in Apex Legends. For example, need to outrun the storm? Hit the stim. Need to close the gap between you and your teammates that are already engaged in fighting? Pop the stim. Need to get the hey batter batter out of dodge? Drink the ooze. Need to gain the upper hand on the enemy in the middle of a fight? Juice it up. This 30% speed boost also grants you the ability to strafe like Speedy Gonzalez. If you can hit your shots while strafing left to right, this ability is incredibly valuable. Now, did I mention that this ability also has the bonus effect of reducing the slowness caused by some items and abilities in the game? For example, these things include the Arc Star stun effect, the caustic gas or trap slowdown, or even Bangalore's ultimate ability. If you get caught in any of these or see one about to hit you, pop your stim and run away free as a jailbird. This stim effect is invaluable and one of the best tacticals in the entire game. Now, my favorite use of this ability is right off the bat in a game. Oftentimes you'll drop into an area that's heavily contested, and it's quite literally a foot race to the first weapon or bin. Simply pop Octane's stim and easily outrun your way to the loot before your enemies. I'd rather take a 10% health loss from my own ability than a 100% health loss from an enemy's weapon. So now that we know Octane's passive and tactical abilities are top notch, how about that ultimate? Unfortunately, this is where the balancing factor comes into play. Despite his awe-inspiring other abilities, his ultimate is a bit lackluster, and it's called the Launchpad. The in-game description says, deployable jump pad that catapults users through the air. Now, if you're used to Fortnite, a launchpad sounds incredible, right? Sadly though, it falls flat. Quite literally. I'm sure most of you have seen this in-game already since it did get put in before Octane's actual release. But it's a green deployable item that resembles a lily pad. If you walk over it or jump on it, it'll catapult you into the sky. Now, the initial distance you get launched doesn't seem very impressive at all. However, what most people don't realize is that there's some tips and tricks associated with it. But before we learn about those tips, let's learn a bit about it first. Now, the first thing to note is that it has an extremely fast cooldown time. You earn this launch pad every 90 seconds. So every 1 minute and 30 seconds, you'll be able to toss down a fresh pad. And you can deploy as many of these as you want, and they're a permanent addition to the map. As you can see here, I have 4 down at a time. So if you're one of those newbie boobies that camps it up, you can deploy several of these in the same area and make a Pee-wee's Playhouse for your friends and enemies alike. Lastly, you can chuck this pretty far. The higher you look up, the further it goes. Sadly though, you can't hold it out or cancel it once you activate it. He'll let it go as soon as the animation ends. Now, as an example, Bangalore can hold her ultimate in her hand, and you can even cancel it if you don't want to throw it. But again, that's not the case with Octane. As soon as you initiate it, it'll deploy. So now let's talk about those tips and tricks with this launch pad. How high you go and the distance you go depends on how you launch yourself from the pad. So here's a normal launch just by running or walking right over it. And the height and distance is the same walking or running. Now, to launch yourself both higher and further, you have to press the jump button immediately after getting launched. As you can see here, the height and distance traveled is further than the walking or sprinting jump. Now, if you hit the launch pad while you're sliding, you'll continue the slide as soon as you land. And this actually takes you the furthest distance out of all the methods, but you won't get that super height like you would by jumping. So to sum all that up, if you need to get to high places, press the jump button right after getting launched. If you need to go the furthest distance, slide into the pad itself. If you just need to get out of there as fast as possible, simply walk or run over the pad. Now, oddly enough, falling onto the pad from a great height, or any height at all for that matter, didn't seem to affect the distance or the height you go. So what can you use this parlor trick ultimate ability for? That depends on your playstyle or how your current game is going. You can use it in combination with Octane's stim ability to outrun the storm, for example, which I find incredibly useful. Likewise, you can use it to engage in a fight, or more importantly, disengage from a fight. If you or a teammate has downed a far-off enemy, deploy the pad and launch you and your team right into the enemy's face so they can't revive him. Likewise, if you're getting cold-cocked into oblivion, deploy the pad and launch yourself to safety. You can also launch dead teammates out of harm's way by deploying one right on their body, or in front of them so they can crawl to it themselves. My favorite use of the launch pad is to reach high places, such as the tops of a building or a high cliff. I've already hit quite a few sniper shots by using this launch pad to catapult my way to the top of a house and snipe someone's face off. For example, take a look at this tactic in action here. And if all else fails, you can use it to troll your teammates, in particular the AFK ones. There's nothing worse than a teammate that isn't playing the game, so why not have a bit of fun with them while they're gone? You could use it in the middle of combat and make your enemies launch themselves out of the battle, or even better, off the map entirely. And that, as they say, is that. Octane is more or less a mix of Bangalore's speed and Lifeline's healing capabilities, with his own Speedy Gonzalez-like twist. As I mentioned earlier, his passive and tactical abilities are two of the best in the game, while his ultimate is somewhat of a letdown. With that said, it does have many uses, and if mastered, can be a real game changer in certain scenarios. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is Octane's hidden ability. He can make your random teammates disconnect. Now, I'm kidding, of course, but seriously, I've never seen so many salty teammates before. When Octane first came out, people would quit the game immediately if they didn't get to be him. And that's how I did a lot of my testing for this video, because I was put into essentially a solo game with no teammates due to them rage quitting. Of course, I do anticipate this to not happen as much as more and more people get to try him out, but it sure was frustrating on day one. So back to the initial question at hand. Is Octane worth unlocking? Absolutely. I'd say he's better than Mirage and Caustic for sure, depending on your playstyle. So if you're torn between those three, definitely go for Octane. Now of course, you can't really spend your legend tokens on many things in this game anyway, so you may as well use them to unlock Octane. So with two incredible abilities and a very handy ultimate, Octane can make even the noobiest of boobies a contender.